And welcome. I received this box today. It winged its way all the way from Dublin to the undisclosed location of the doctor's surgery here in County Tyrone. So we'll get her open and see what's in her here. Here we are. We've got a nice collection of Milwaukee batteries. We've got a 5 amp, a 5 amp, a 5 amp, a 4 amp, another 4 amp, 2 9 amps, and a 12 amp. This video is really about triaging these 8 batteries, just to show you what I do when I get batteries in for repair. It'll give you an idea how I discover what's wrong with them, and I aim to fix them, of course. Just get these batteries out of the box and I'll number them so we can keep track. Here they are, numbered from 1 to 8. The first 3 are 5 amps, 4 and 5s are 4 amps, 6 and 7 are 9 amps, and the 12 amp is number 8. So we're going to go through them one at a time and see what's wrong with them. I'll show you some of the processes that I do to find out the issue. And the first thing we do when we get a battery is press the button, and no light comes on in this case. And the next thing we do is do a volt check from the positive and negative terminals at the top of the battery. And we are getting nothing. So that tells us there's no power coming out the top. That could be a good thing, could be a very bad thing. But we'll not know till we go to the next stage, which is opening the battery. Oh, somebody's the screws out. Look at this. Somebody's already been in here. Look, there's no screws in this battery. We'll go on there. Somebody stuck a screw out of the board as well. Look at that. My goodness. Anyway, there's no broken connections at the top. What I was hoping was that some of the connections were broke. This was burnt off or broke or something. That's why we're getting no power. So the next thing we do is take it out of the casing. This one's been tampered with because the screws out and there was no screws in the actual battery. You'll see that 5 banks of 2 cells, the usual thing. There's no broken connections at the top. There's no loose connections at the side. And I suspect this might be a complete dud. What I mean by that is if all the cells are reading 0, which I suspect they will be, that battery has got nothing going for it. It's barely registering. That's that bank. Barely registering that bank. Barely registering. We might be lucky though, because there's actually something there. We might be lucky. These are very low. These are less than, fractions of a volt all the way. Seriously, critically low voltage throughout the pack. What I would say about that, and what the possible attempt to fix would be, I would say we could try voltage recovery through the power supply, DC power supply. Or if you want to do a crude method, jump start, but because these are so low you're likely to fry at least 4 of the cells, I would say, doing that. So I would say trying it in the DC power supply would be my solution for that. So that's 1 down. Very low volts. Very low volt. So that'll tell me what I need to know, that I need to try and recover the voltage in that one. On to battery 2. Test again. No light. What we have to do is a quick volt check out the top of the battery. We have to see what she's throwing out the top. Again, positive, negative. That's, we'll see, get to the voltage. It might tell me. It's showing 13.8 volts. Before opening this, I would guess, I'm guessing, that we need to do cell replacement in that one. I would say there's, doing the mathematics, I would say there's probably 4 cells away in that one. But again, we don't know for sure till we get in there. We'll have to take the screws out of this one because there's actually screws on this one. This is below chargeable voltage at 13.8, but unless it's just low across the pack, voltage recovery wouldn't be the answer. If we have some cells lower than others, we have to either bring the cells up to voltage or replace them. So, with the pack open like this, we can do another test. We can test the cells. We can actually test the cells from the top. I'll show you how to do this. I showed you how to test them by taking it out. But this could be a useful one if you're not confident and you're a bit afraid of the old battery repair. You know, as a lot of people are, and I do not judge you for that. I am a bit crazy, so I don't expect you to be crazy as well. So we start at the plus terminal, go to the next one. That's 3.6, that's a good chargeable voltage. So that front bank of cells are good. And the next bank of cells are good. This would tell me that we're going to have 2 in the end maybe that are bad. Next 2 are bad. Yep. The next 2 are bad. That's the middle bank. It's bad. And there's and what do we see? We'll take it out and show you. It might be clearer if I remove it. You can see the banks of cells there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll go down them again just to show you from plus to minus. That one's good, 3.6. That one's good, 3.6. That one's bad. That's showing a negative voltage. That's what's pulling down the voltage of the pack. That one's good. And that one is also good. We need 2 cells in the middle. So it's the 2 middle cells there that have to be removed and replaced. And we can fix that pack that way. Throw it back together again and document what's wrong with it. Two middle cells. I noticed that 4 banks measuring 3.6 didn't add up to 13.8. It adds up to more than that. But because the middle bank was actually failed and was showing a minus voltage, I was actually pulling down the voltage of the whole pack. So that's how that works. So moving on to number 3. Number 3. Again, the light test. We've got 1 flashing light. That's the first one with the flashing light. And the voltage check. The voltage check shows 14.9 volts. This could be one or two things again. It could be that the whole pack has fell below chargeable voltage over time, because it needs to be about 17 and a half for the charger to recognize it and won't charge. Or we could have a couple of failed cells again. Get the screws out. And get the top off to see what's going on. Again, no broken connections at the top. You wouldn't have expected to see them with the voltage. And we'll do the same again. We'll pull it out of the pack just to see, and do a volt check again. So here we go. First one is dead. Second one is 3.75, which is good. Third one is 3.75, which is good. Fourth one is 3.75, which is good. And N1, which is 3.75. So it's the one on this end, it's the one on the positive end. The one on the positive end is dead, so that needs 2 cells as well. So 2 cells on positive end. So that's what's wrong with that. And here we go, number 4 it is. And the light check, 1 flashing light again. Flashing light doesn't tell you a terrible lot, but it's just it tells you it either needs charged or there's something wrong with it. So we're going to do a volt check, and again we're low, 15.1 volts coming out the top. So we'll get her open and see what else is going on. This is a 4 amp battery, the other 3 before it were 5 amp, but the principle is exactly the same. And to the untrained eye, they look the same. It's just the cells are different. This is tight. Ah, there we are. That was tight, but it come off. Anyway, so again, we have a different fault. I see the fault already. As you see, I mentioned earlier about the connections in the top. Well, here's where it comes into play, look. There's a fusible link in this one, and that has burnt through. See if we can focus on that to see. So we made it one of the easiest fixes of the lot. It's just reconnecting that. Sometimes if a battery's driven too hard, sometimes they have the wee fusible link somewhere in the pack, and if they're driven too hard to get an overheat, that they're potentially to overload, the cells overheat, they'll fire the current back and actually burn out the weakest link, which is that. That tells us that something happened and burnt out, but that might not be curtains for this battery. Again, we're getting 15 volts, so that might only mean that this pack, these front cells are not connected to the pack, which means you'll be getting something like 18 volts instead of 15. But we'll not know until we do the usual volt check on all the cells. But this is not a repair video, this is to show you the process that I use. 3.97, 3.98. 3.98. 3.98. 3.98 I would say. Yeah. 3.9. Let's see. Let's see, get a good connection. Yeah, that pack is not only got all good cells in it, they're all perfectly balanced. That is our issue. That's what's wrong. We just needed to we need to reconnect that, and we have a good battery. So battery 4 is the most promising candidate and the easiest fix. So we'll write down broken fusible link. Yeah, so there we are. You don't get them every day, but it's nice to see one. So we'll see. 3, 5. Upside down, there you are. So again, 1 flashing light, and we'll connect the multimeter to it. There we are. We've got 4.4 volts, which is a terribly low voltage, and that might not be a disaster either. But we'll know when we open the pack. So I'll get the pack open and we'll see what's happening. To top off, this 4 is very tight as well. Must be a 4 amp thing. This is a 4 amp as well. Again, if we look at the top, we can see a lot of corrosion. You don't want to see that, but it's not a disaster. And if you look at the fusible link on this 4, it's intact. See, someone who's been at this, they've marked it that's positive and minus. I never like to see that, but the screws are all in it. Let's get the volt check done on the cells now. There's a bit of corrosion aside, but that doesn't panic me. I don't worry about that. But it's nice to see them clean and there's no corrosion on them, but you know, we can't always have what we want, can we? So here we go. That's a low volt. This was only 4.4. It's 3.46. I'm disappointed that's actually high. I'll explain why in a minute. That's low. That's low as well. And that's actually a bad, that's a minus voltage, so that's a bad bank of cells. So really and truly, there's only one good bank of cells in this. I think it's in the middle, isn't it? I'll just check it for the documentation reason. No. Right. Second bank from positive is good. 8 bad cells. That's what it is. If they hadn't been all showing any kind of voltage, even 1 or anything, we could have maybe brought them up with voltage recovery. So, second bank from positive end, good. 8 bad cells. Because of the corrosion, because there's so many bad cells in that one, number 5 might be unrecoverable. But we'll see how we do. So I'll put it together and move swiftly on to number 6. This is number 6, and that's a 9 amp high demand. It's got one flashing light. They're different, but I'll show you why they're different when you get inside. They're the same principle. Again, we'll check the voltage coming out the top, and we've got 9.5. And we'll check inside to see what that means, what's causing that. These are different. They've got the 4 screws in the bottom, like the other batteries, but they've got additional little screws holding the pack in as well. These 4 screws on the outside, like the smaller batteries, hold the lid on. But unlike the other ones, they have 4 screws holding the battery pack in. Because I can get the lid off, but I'll not get that pack out without taking them screws out. And the bottom of them 4 wee ones. You can see them. At the top, it's not the cleanest. The connections are all connected. Even the fusible links intact at the top. We'll get those 4 screws out and we will take the pack out. This is the first difference. When I take this pack out, I'm going to show you the second difference. Because instead of 10 cells in this pack, it's got 15. It's got 15. You see that? And I'm going to let you into a little secret as well about this particular one. I've discovered something right away. Somebody's actually repaired this pack. That's why it looks so rough at the top. This is not original spot welding. It is spot welding or soldering or something, but it is something. I'm not slagging off their workmanship, but somebody has been here before. So we can state for the record that number 6 has been repaired before. Well, a fellow repairman has been there. This is not my work. I'm not saying his work's any worse than mine. I'm just saying it's not me done it. I didn't do the job this time. But anyhow, that is neither here nor there. We're going to do a wee volt check like we did with others. And the principle is the same. You still have 5 banks of cells, but instead of 2 in each bank, you have 3. That's where you achieve the voltage, or you achieve the amperage, should I say. The second bank is shown as bad. The first one's 2.25. The third one's 2.25. Very low, but still viable. Not bad actually. There's just one bank of cells completely away, the 2.79, a bit of cell imbalance. So somebody's had that apart before. It might be a good thing for me. It might make it easier to take apart again. You know, they've done it slightly different than I would, but that's not a bad thing. But that one's actually gone. That second pack in, the second bank in from the positive end. So we'll note that for the record. So second bank in from positive end bad, and fixed before. 8 low cells. That tells me a little bit of what I'm going to do. With that, it gives me an idea. So that is, yeah, number 6. Number 7, and it's another 9 amp. So again, the light test, one flashing light. Volt check reveals is 12.9 volts. So again, we know she's a low volter, but it's not clear what's causing it. So we'll get all the screws out and we'll take her apart here. Out the screws, I noticed something about this battery. It's built by Lupo batteries. Now they were a company based in Poland. That might have been the other one. The other one, I've looked at the top, it says Lupo batteries. That was somebody in Poland was actually doing that for a living, and their premises burned to the ground. I don't know if it was last year or the year before last year, so I'm expecting this one to be, yeah, somebody's been here before. I'm not going to slag off their handiwork, but they were doing that for a living, and the company is now burned to the ground. So it was a shame for them. It's a shame that happened to them, but we might be in luck with this one. Anyway, so we're looking at the top. We can see there's these two aren't spot welded. When these come new, you can see the other ones are spot welded. They're soldering. I'm not slagging that off because that's what I do as well. And you can see all the other links are, yep, connected, except the fusible link in this type. The fusible link in this one is also gone. Yeah. So we'll pull it out of the pack and see if we can get a better volt check. I think he has spot welded them, but he's got a stronger spot welder than I have. It works, but he used the original. He used the original material, which is always best anyway. I would say he's done a real good job in that. It looks rough, but it's good enough. Let's do the volt check to see if the cells are all good. I suspect they will be. When that fusible link's away, it's probably just that. It's probably just that. We'll start here. 3.45. 3.45. 3.45. 3.45. This is looking good. 3.45. Yep. I'll go back to that again. Yep. They're all good. It's the fusible link in this one again. So that's very, very good news. Even though this is a, well, semi-professional company rebuild, I wouldn't be nervous about it. And we just need to reconnect that. It obviously had an overload of some sort and it just burnt out. So what I'll do is connect a wee bit of nickel strip across there, soldered across. It'll still be a fusible link because it'll be a lot weaker than the rest and it will burn out in the case of an overload. So that's good. That's good news. Number 7 is the fusible link. Fusible link. Last but not least, number 8, and it's also a Lupo built battery, if you see that. This is a 12 amp. What sets it apart from the 9 amp, it has also got 15 cells, but they're bigger cells. Actually, bigger in size as well as capacity. And it's got a flashing light. And if we connect the voltmeter to the positive and negative here, we get 17 volts, 17.1. If you can see that, that's coming into almost chargeable voltage range. So we really need to dig in again, get the 4 outer screws and 4 inner screws. Same principle as the 9 amp, but it's a bigger battery just in every way, capacity and size. The screws out, we'll get the top off, and again, a home build, but all the connections are, they don't look pretty, you know, some of mine don't look pretty anyway, either, so I'm not slagging it off, but they're all there, they're all connected. So we'll pull her out. Again, I had to remove the 4 screws in the bottom to do that, and there's been a bit of DIY home build, well, semi-professional Lupo home build, so that's alright. He's connected everything. Well enough done, good enough spot welding. Looks untidy to the untrained eye. As long as everything's connected, it's okay. So here we are, the volt check. 3.43, good. 3.43, good. 3.43, I'm expecting all the cells to be good. Yeah. That battery, conceivably, well, all the cells good, should charge. But if it doesn't charge, I'd only suggest one thing: a new circuit board. There might be something in the circuit board that has failed. No, that's a connection. Look at that. That connection's not good there. It might be just that connection's bad. Either that connection's bad on the top of the board, or I would say that's probably what it is. Oh, that's just terrible. It's a bad connection. All the cells are good there. We just need to redo that. As long as he hasn't overheated, he's done a bit of a bad job there, because he might have overheated some component in the board there beside that. If you do that, you wreck the board. But these boards can be got. I don't know if I have any at the minute, but potentially a board and a bad connection. That's what we're going to write down for that one. So disconnect at board and possibly field board. Right, PCB. That'll do. So that's the full triage there. Very low voltage, 2 middle cells, 2 cells in the end, broken fusible link, second bank from the end good, and 8 bad cells, second bank from the end bad, and 8 low cells, as fixed before. Number 7 fusible link, and the disconnected the board, possibly bad board. That's the full triage section that shows you how I would establish what's wrong with the battery and determine whether it's worth fixing or not, or what I'm going to attempt. I have a battery repair course dedicated to these M18 batteries. I'll put the link in the description and in the comments section. Got the 6 ampere M12 battery. This one is, well, if you put in the charge, it goes. You know, it's okay, but there is an issue with it, and so the issue is called cell imbalance. And I'm going to show you how to find this, and hopefully how to repair it. One of the good things about working these M12 batteries, you don't have to open them to find out if there's cell imbalance. You can find out with a multimeter switch to DC voltage. The first thing you do is check the voltage coming out the positive and negative terminals. That's a positive, that's a negative. We got 10.78, which is a little low, to be quite honest with you. And if you want to check, there's actually 3 banks of cells in this. There's 2 cells together basically in series connected. three banks in parallel connected in series to each other would be the way to describe it. And if you want to check here what they're reading, the first bank of cells is reading 3.42, and the second bank of cells, I'm going to these two here now, is reading 3.96. So the second bank of cells can be read with these two connectors, and the third bank of cells can be read with these two connectors, and we're getting 3.26. So what that means is the middle bank of cells is 3.94, which is nearly a full charge, and the other two banks are below really the bottom, what you'd want them to be. You'd want them to be 3.5 at the bottom and 4.1 at the top. So we've got severe cell imbalance. One is higher than the other, and when that happens, if I put that on the charge and reaches maximum charge when the middle bank reaches about 4.1, and then it stops charging even though the other two are well below where they should be. So what we've got to do is open it and bring up the cells that are lower than the rest. Some of you will ask, why do I not just put the voltage on the top where I tested it? I have explored that possibility, but that doesn't work. It won't take a charge through these. It'll take a charge through these, but it won't take a charge individually through these, because these are only to tell the charger what's happening with the battery. It only goes one way. It's one-way traffic this way. It doesn't work. Just in case you're curious about that, because it is a good question. There we are. We're out of the pack now. It's all about measuring the banks and understanding where they're connected together. These are easy. You can see these two's up here because they're connected in parallel, positive to positive and negative to negative. So we can test them first to see what they're like. Get this into shot for you. That's one of the low banks. That's 3.34. So first thing we'll do is put the B6 charger in that and bring that up. Right, we have this B6 charger set to 1S, which is one series, and the LiPro charge. What it is, we've got to connect the positive here, and we can get a good enough connection, and the negative here, just here. So here we go, connected up there. Right, that's charging away now. We'll just leave that until that comes up to fully charged. So I'm going to fully charge the 3 banks of cells, and that will alleviate the problem. I've got a buddy in Canada. He's been working on these for years, these batteries, and he's an expert in Milwaukee, really, Milwaukee batteries. And he tells me how important cell balance is in a battery. 0.1 of a volt difference between the cell banks can drop your battery performance by 10%. Right, so we're reaching near enough capacity there now. I'm going to just stop this, take it off, and check the bank of cells again to show you what we've got to. Remember, this is well down. It was 3 point something. Right, so we'll measure that now. That's 4.15, so that's full capacity. And the one that was a higher one was this one. We measured at the top. That's 3.98, so we're going to have to bring that up a little bit to match this one, and then we'll bring the third one up. So we've clipped this on, this bank of cells, that's connected to another cell up here. That will not matter, it'll transfer through, and just put it on till it reaches capacity. Again, we're reaching near capacity, and as soon as we get up there, these two should be in fairly good balance, and then we'll have to go for a third one. Right, so I'm going to turn this off and check the second bank of cells to see if they have come up sufficiently. to match solar to. 4.18, so we'll take that and we'll move on to the third bank if we can get access to it here. Right, so there's the third bank there, 3.46. So we've got to try and get that connected without disconnecting it from the pack and bring it up, same as the rest. So here we go again with the charger and the final bank. And again, we've got to just play the waiting game. And you'll see this has taken a considerable amount of time. That's 23 minutes and we're not quite there yet. So this is very, very time consuming fix, but it does the job and gives you a usable battery again. If you do want to do this job yourself, this is a very handy tool, this iMax B6, and they're not very expensive. If you're doing a few batteries or have a lot of batteries, you will use it, it will be useful. I'm going to put a link in the description and pinned in the comments section of this video, and that'll help you. It's an Amazon link, it'll take you straight to it and you can have a look at it. You know you're coming near capacity when you see the dampage that's going into the cell starting to drop. That means it's really coming towards where it needs to be. Right, I've just took the charger off. I'm going to put this back together and give it a bit of a measure and see what way we're fixed now. So that's back together. We'll just do a wee test on the power coming out the top to see where we got to. Hey, we got. And we've got 12.37. That's pretty much perfect. 4.08. 4.13. And 4.06. There's a little bit of imbalance there, but not a wild lot. And I think, to be quite honest, that battery is pretty much perfect in my book. So I put in the charge to make sure all's good there, and it's showing a full charge. So I'm calling that fixed. I've got a slightly different repair video. I'm going to show you 5 essential tools that you need to repair a Dewalt battery with this particular issue. Here in front of me I have 2 batteries. I have an 18 volt 4 ampere battery and I'm guessing 4 or 5, I'm not sure if it's a 4 or 5 ampere inside for a battery. This is past the point of rescue. The cells are all either missing or completely destroyed. This one's got a different kind of an issue. It's showing 2 bars. It won't work on a charger and won't power a tool. It's not even registering on the charger at all. Or powering that. Although you could say from looking, this one's worse than this one. They're both as useless as each other at the minute. So to identify the issue, like I've already showed, it's not charging, it's not powering the tool, even though it's 2 bars. The first essential tool I use in the repair is a multimeter, like this. And I'll put that in the positive terminal and that in the negative terminal, plus and minus, you know. And I'm getting 17.9, which is perfectly chargeable voltage normally, but we won't know really fully what's going on until we get inside. But I'm willing to gamble that it is this board that it requires. The second essential tool I need in the repair of this is a Sabercut TX10. Also I have another brand which I would recommend too, and that's Hacking. TX10 with the hole up the centre. And these fit the screws in the bottom of these batteries, you know. And that's what you need to remove them. And now we move on to essential tool number 3, which is the cordless screwdriver to drive this. Makes it a heck of a lot easier. We'll have to get the top off, and from the top we can measure the output of all these cells to see what the difference is, if there's any difference in the banks of cells, or there's any low cells, high cells, dead cells. Again, you need a multimeter to do this. You can't do this without taking it out of the pack. In some cases I would recommend taking it out of the pack, because you can see if there are any broken connections in the side or whatnot. So 3.63, 3.63, 3.6, near enough the same all the way so far. 3.6. There's not significant imbalance in this. 3.64. So if that board was right and doing its job, it should be powering the tool. Might be a little bit low, might be at the cutoff point of the tool, but it certainly should be charging. So that's why we're going to remove the board. This brings me on to the last 2 essential tools. I'll do these together. This is the Milwaukee soldering iron I use. You need a soldering iron to do this job. I'll just switch it on, let it heat up. Battery could do a wee bit of charge, but I might get away with it. And moving on to item number 5, a small screwdriver. And once this heats up, I'll show you how you use both these items to remove this board. I'm just going to put a little bit of flux in the connections, just to get them off, you know. I'm going to try and put as much information about these items that I'm using in the comment section, pinned in the comment section, and also in the description of the video. When you're doing this, wear safety glasses or safety goggles, because things can, sparks of this here can come up and go into your eye, and that's hot solder. You don't want that in your eye. It hit me in the face one time, but I was very, very lucky it didn't hit me in the eye. You can remove this from the casing to make it easier to desolder these, but in the context of this video, I'm going to just do the shortcut. You see how I'm using the screwdriver to pry that up and that left side out. Don't let it down too quick. Let the solder cool again before you let it down. So pry that up and put using this technique that I'm doing inside the casing. Saves you taking the battery out of the casing. There's 2 reasons why you shouldn't do that. Is if you don't take it out of the casing, you'll not be able to see if there's any other broken connections anywhere. And also, using the soldering iron near the edge of the plastic can melt this and cause you problems, you know. Damage the casing, you know. So be very careful not to do that. that cool. That's that. And last but not least, there we are. That means you should be able to now remove the circuit board here completely. Should completely lift off. There's yeah, that's another reason for the screwdriver. You have to pry them out of the wee things that are holding them there. And if you're reusing one of these boards, be careful, because you can break off them wire things and you have to rejoint them, and it's a bit of a pain, you know, to do that. Let's see what's holding out. There's a bit of adhesion there. That's alright, that's it off. So that's the board off the battery that's going to receive the donor board. We'll do the same on the other one. There's some of the work already done here, so we'll just take off these plates. We're not going to have to be very neat. Spark. So be very careful with them sparks of solder, because it's so, you don't want them landing in your eye. Eye protection. Gloves are a must as well. You have to be careful of this and not break anything off it, because this is the one we're going to use. So that's this pack, you know, completely beyond use. There's nothing really of purpose on it that's any good now. Yeah, he died, so this one could live, hopefully. So now the simple, intricate part we've all been looking forward to, getting this all put together again. So we have a good working battery. Everything's, there's no real you just one on, one off, you know. It's just modular replacement. It's not, everything's in the right place. You don't have any manufacturing to do, nothing too fancy, nothing clever. Starting with the negative terminal here, get it well stuck down here. Let that cool before I let it go. I'm pretty happy with that. And the first terminal here. No need to add maybe additional solder there at all, just stick it down. You need to be careful about working with metal parts around these batteries, because you can cause cross connections and all sorts of nonsense if you're not careful. I know, I've done it. I've done it all. There we are. Just a couple more connections and we're good to go. Knife's good. There we are. A little bit of flux, maybe in that again. We should have a good battery when we're finished here. Nothing remains to do but to put this together as best we can and try and see if it charges, does the things it's supposed to. There we are, she's all back together. So we'll try it in the charger now. And it's charging, so we'll have to give that a little time, see if it charges up, and then we'll try it on the tool. Well, I'm very, very pleased to say that this has achieved a full charge. The charger stopped charging it. It's showing 2 bars, but that could be a fault in the battery indicator. The only way to truly know is to check the voltage with the multimeter. Put these in the right terminals. Yeah, 20 volts, so it is fully charged. Doesn't get much better than that. So I'm calling that fixed, and if you want to buy some of those tools I've showcased on this video, I'll put the link in the description. Today we got this Asda bag full of batteries. I'll just get them out to show you what's in here. Lovely. A Dewalt copy, various Dewalts for looks of things. 5 amps and 4 amps there, and another 5 amp. That's all she wrote. There's 5 batteries in here. One's a knockety off. You know how fond I am of them. Not. What is wrong with this horrible lot? I suppose the first thing you should do is do a voltage check on them. This one last. We'll line them all up. There's a 5 amp, 4 amp, 5 amp, 4 amp. That's a 5 as well. So 3 5s and a 4 and a knockoff. So let's do the volt checks. This one's actually damaged. The terminal's damaged in that. Somebody's been jump starting that or doing something with it, but it doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. We're not here to judge, we're just here to probably fix, you know, hopefully. Right. Let's see. We've got a full voltage. That should be going, if it was right. Number 2. 14.4. So that's a little bit low. There could be a couple of banks away in that, or it could be a break somewhere. This one, we'll put the terminals around the right way. That's very low, 9.9, if you can see that. So 14.4, 9.9. And 16, that could be a single bank of cells or just low. They could all be low. So 16, 14, 9, and full voltage. So we'll just go this one here now to see. This one's been jump started again too, lad. Let's see the melting there. There's a bit of melting there, or something going on there. Nothing. I think the terminals might be burnt or broke or something. They're sprayed anyway. There could be terminal damage there. This is supposedly a 9 amp. Look at the depth of that battery. There's 3 banks of cells. There are 15 cells in that battery. There's the battery indicator for it, anyway. We start with the horrible one. We'll start with the horrible one. Them screws are as long as a wet Wednesday. Not that. That's a wacky battery to build. I have to sort of admire them for that, but if they had built it right, oh, look at that. Look at that. You see what's wrong here first right away? This wire's off. This wire's supposed to go on here, and this wire's supposed to go on here. Both are off. So that's bad. That wouldn't be giving us any power through there. And can we get that out? It's a bit of melting there, look at that. This is at a bit of heat here. Look at this. This is bad. But anyway, it's all bad. And these wires here, they're all off except for one. That's awesome. And that B plug goes in here, obviously. And that's damaged as well. So we'll have to see what we can do there. It's all very suboptimal. I suppose we'll just get her out of the pack to see how much more suboptimal it is. Give this the little mandatory volt check at this stage to see. 3.85. Not too bad. Not too bad. They're all around 3.85, so they're not bad. They're not bad. 3.85, 3.88. A little bit unbalanced, but not too bad. That cell maybe looks like that because of the heat rather than anything else. I suppose we'll have to just reconnect everything. That's what we need to do. Here goes. We'll reattach the little wires first. Oh, see what I did there? I accidentally cross-connected them two with a soldering iron, but it hasn't done any harm. I've got away with it. So you want to be careful with that stuff in general. But anyway, you can do that quite often with long screwdrivers or anything, any kind of tools, metal tools that you're working with around these batteries. And you can wear gloves, so I would advise maybe wearing gloves would be a good choice. So that's the wee wires attached. These wires from the top attached as well. There's one up here, and this one has to go up to the board. A piece of wire, so hopefully we get it attached here. Bit of flux in that. We've got that all put together, so we just have to try and fit the rest together without disconnecting anything. It's all back together, and we have 3 bars. I'm calling that and fixed anyway. Terrible battery, but hey, you can only work with what you have. We'll go on to battery number 2, which I'll call battery number 2. We're showing no bars. This one was showing over 18 volts, if you remember. Tried in the charger, it's giving me nothing. Absolutely nothing. No. No. We'll have to get her open and see what's going on with this thing. The terminals is probably a bad issue with that one. We'll get the screws out and we'll see. This is showing full voltage, so we're going to have to get out of the pack and see what's wrong. We can see that those terminals are badly messed up. We could kind of straighten them. That might help a little bit. We'll do that first, I think. Hopefully that's helped a little bit. We can do a little volt check from the top. Let's see if it's prying it out of the pack, just to see if the voltage is right across the pack. .84, 3.84, 3.8. A wee bit of cell imbalance, but you know, we'll live with it. 3.8 odd across the board. It's not too bad. No significant cell imbalance. Full voltage coming out the top. We straightened the terminals a little bit. We could pry it out, but we'll try it in the charge again first before we go any further to see if the straightening of the terminals. This top's not great. I think we might have to do something with the top there. There's a bit of melting going on. I think we'll clean the top up a little bit first. Hopefully that leaves more of a gap and allows the terminal to do what it's supposed to do. Put this together again to see. It still seems like it's sitting lower with the top on, you know. Let's see. Let's have another look. The inside this time. Let's see. It's charging. So we'll leave that on a while and see how it does. But I think that's fixed. And a couple of screws to hold it together, and then leave it to the side and see if I can't move on to something else. This is the 14.4 one, I think. This is the 16 one, and I think this is the... No, this is the 16 one. This is the 14.4, and this is the 9. So we'll go for the 16 one. It might take a charge. Confirm that's 16.2. I've seen them charge from that. I'll show them 1 bar, so we'll see. It is charging. No, it's not charging. It's showing the flashing light. That's a fault. So we'll have to get her open and see what the fault is. There we are now. Just full of drywall dust. That'll do it. Right, we've got 16 and we're not charging. We'll have to have a look under here. No. Sometimes that be's blown, but that's okay. So we're gonna have to do an individual cell bank check across the pack here. Let's see what we got. 4 there. 4 there again. Don't worry about the negative voltage, I was just holding them around the wrong way. 4. 4. 4. 4. That's well over 4 as well. It's this end bank. It's this bank at the front. So we need 2 cells there. We need 2 cells at the front. That's what's wrong with that battery. That's why it's showing 16. These all add up to 4, and this adds up to jack shit, you know. So there you are. So we need cell replacement in that one. I just have to see if we have a couple of cells suitable. That's 4 amp. I will have something. I'll have something available. So what we need is 2000 milliamp cells to slick it to the front of this. Oh, look at that. That's ugly. But we're not gonna, it's not a beauty contest. First things first, we'll try and get these 2 offending cells out of there. There we are. I'll take this full plate off, even though these 2 are staying in. I'm taking this full plate off for one reason, because it's just rough, and I'm just going to do a nice new clean one. There for the recycling bin, them 2. And we'll get these off here now, just to see. So rusty and horrible. But we'll fix it. We'll have to clean up that surface there a little bit. Two recovered cells, but the voltage ain't right. I'm going to have to bring the voltage up with my VC8 charger. I'm going to have to get that into action here as well. And so here where they're charging away, we're going to have to just wait because this is going to take time. So we'll let that happen. We'll let that to one side for now, and we'll move on to another battery to see what's going on there. 14.4, if you remember that one was. So this could be any number of things could be wrong with this. We'll not know until we open it. Right, again, we have to pokey poke because they're full of all sorts of debris. Good enough. I'll get these out now. We'll get this pried open. Yeah, not so bad. Could be stuck a little bit. There could be a bit of burning in here, melting, holding it together. That's what happens sometimes. These are easy, shouldn't be hard to take off. Yeah, it's a little bit of melting. There we are. Ooh. Let's see under here. That one's okay. This side's the problem. Let's have a go at this now. We're going to have to get this one out of the pack. There's no two ways about it. We'll just see if this one was fixed before. There's anything. There seems to be something fishy going on here on this side. There's a failure of cells here and a melting of plastic. That's bad. That could have been bad. Could have been a lot worse than it was. Just have to pry it out. Oh dear. This is, there's a bit of bad repair there. Oh well. That's bad repair. That's all this. Bit of soldering and cells and stuff. We want to avoid that. Yeah. We'll have a go at these. There was a bit of heat. Went into these cells, a bit of cross connection or something dodgy happened. But it's not the end of the world. We need to do a little bit of individual cell checks here now. See what we got. Three 3.6, 3.6, 3.6, 3.6. There's the problem there, that end bank. We need to get that completely redone. It's only hanging on anyways, barely hanging on. Again, cell replacement. We can get them out. No, that's no good. Anyway, we'll see what we can do with that. We have 2 cells to put into that at 3.6 volts, so we can get them somewhere. This is a 5 amp battery. It needs 25-hour cells or 2500 milliamp cells. Got a couple of Samsungs here that I can prep and put straight in, because I've checked the voltage. You remember they're 3.6 across the board here, across the whole pack. So we're going to have to do a little check here. And we've got 3.6 exactly, and again 3.6. Yeah. So we can stick these straight in. No need for charging these. Yeah. We'll prepare the cells first of all. When we'll cut these ends off here, these little, because these are reclaimed cells from another pack some time ago, so and we'll do a better repair job of that one than has been done previously, you know. There we are. There we are. So we'll give that a little bit of a buff up there. There we are. We can put them on now. Try and get them fitted on nice and neat. Better than before, possibly. So we'll take this strip off again, and hold on, I've got a better idea. Knock these off. So we can just spot weld these cells on now. So that's it put together with 2 new cells, or 2 reclaimed cells, and we'll try and see if we can get this bad boy to charge. This case has suffered some melting, so it is a wee bit deformed, but anyway. We shall persevere, and we shall overcome. So that's what we do. We're showing 2 bars, so we'll put that in the charge, see if it goes. Yeah, it's charging. And if we go back to the first one we put on the charge, that's showing a full charge now, and it's showing it's not showing any bars. The battery indicator in that is not working. It has, however, took a full charge. Even though the battery indicator is not working, we have a functional battery, so I'm calling that definitely fixed. And there's one on charging, and there's the first one, so we're down to the last one. I think that's the last one, is it? No, we've one more. They're waiting for the cells to charge, forgive me, but this is the last one, and I think this one was the lowest voltage of the lot, if I remember correctly. We're going to put the volt checker on it again, and the overall voltage is just 9.9 or so. So again, could be a great deal many things wrong on here. And we'll just get the screws out and see what it is. If we can get the screws out, getting there. There we are. Oh, see a problem. There's a disconnect there. There's a disconnect there. Look at that. It is connected, but it's badly connected. But anyway, we'll see what's going on. We'll do the individual cell check. Right, let's do the standard check again down the pack. That's the wrong way around there. That's 3.57, 3.57, 3.57. That's 403. But that's a reverse polarity. That bank is gone. That bank is gone. You see that's showing a minus there. That minus means something. And 3.57. So it's this bank of cells here is the problem. The second one in here. I usually try and mark them when I identify them. There we are. Sometimes they can get so bad they reverse polarity, and that's what's happened here. So we'll get these out of the pack. That's what we have to do. Right. Just get these 2 cells out first of all, then we can clean up the pack and see what we're going to do with the rest of it. Yeah, so we need 2 cells for that. That's also a 5 amp, so that's, yeah, we need 2.3.6 cells for that. These are for the recycle bin, and this is another 5 amp battery, so I have these 25 hours again, 2500 milliamps, and I'm going to have to slot them in alongside these blue ones that are for the 4 amp that we've already stripped over there. And yeah, they're very low, but we're just going to have to wait till the charger brings them up, and we're bringing them up to 3.6 or so. That's what we're looking for. That's going to take time, and it's going to take time to finish this repair, so we're going to have to just wait. Very near now. The 2 4 amp battery cells are up near 4 volts, and these are up near 3.6. We'll have to wait till you get a bit over, because that's what they're putting in. They'll be a bit less now. That's probably sitting about 3.3 or 3.4, 3.8. That's coming very near there. Definitely, if you want to own one of these VC8s, I'll put a link in the description. This XR VC8 Plus. I've also got a smaller one, a VC4. I'll show you yet. That's the VC4. It's just a smaller version. I was using that for a few years now, and I moved on to the big dog. You know, I pulled this one off. The charge has come to 4.04, which is near enough for me. So we're waiting on this one to come up. When it says 4.1 and that, I'm going to take it off. This is sitting at 3.7, so I might check that too. That needs another wee while. While the battery we've on the charge has reached fully charged. It's got 3 bars. Let's see what it's putting out the top. .1, very good voltage, fully charged, took a full charge, perfect. One of these cells has just reached where I wanted to as well, so one of each so far. So this one goes for this one goes for this one. Yep, and we're just waiting these last two to get there. Right, we'll get this one out now. This is another one of 2000 milliamp cells for the 4 amp battery, and that's 402. That'll do rightly. So that's 2 for the 4 amp. This one is a little bit to go, not too far. Right, we're ready to install these now. They're a different colour, but don't let that bother you. They are 2000 milliamp cells. So that's it put back together, internally anyway. So we've got to put it back into the case and see if we have a functional battery again, which we should have. Probably got a fully charged battery there, so it'll just show a fully charged light. No, yeah. We'll check the voltage just to verify. 20.2 volts. That's perfect as well. So that's 4 down. We have one left, and we're waiting on a cell just to finish charging, and we're ready to go with that. Suppose when we're waiting, we can get some prep done here. We can get this off here. We'll get this off, and we'll have to make a new one of them. That's, yeah. Probably need to saw them off. What do we see? We'll saw these lugs off here. There we are. This cell has become up where we want it voltage wise, so now you have 2 cells to put in, and we'll give them a little bit of prep, I think. Right, that's the 2 green cells installed now. I will put this 5 amp together and see what we have. showing one bar. Give that a little tighten. It's okay. And we'll try it on the charger and see what happens. And it's charging, so that's the fifth one. So we'll leave that on a wee while to make sure it takes a full charge. Here we are, fully charged. The best things come to those who wait. 3 bars, and we'll do a little voltage check like all the rest, just to see how we did. And yes, 20.2 full capacity there too. There are 5 batteries fixed, 4 Dewalts, genuine Dewalts, and 1 pretend Dewalt. Welcome. A guy arrived at the doctor's surgery a few moments ago with these 2 Makita 6-amp batteries. He said he bought them quite recently online and they weren't doing right, they weren't holding the charge or whatever. As soon as I saw them, I said, I think you got a couple of knockoffs in your hands, my friend. And I'm going to tell you the red flags that give away that these are for certain knockoffs. My goal in this video is to show you some of the red flags to identify if your battery is fake or not. These Makita batteries are very distinctive. There's one thing that gave it away right away. One thing that he said he bought these batteries for £25 each online. That's the first red flag. If you can buy Makita batteries for that price, they're definitely not right. That's number 1. Number 2, there's a distinctive thing about a Makita battery. If you buy a Makita battery and it hasn't been opened before, obviously if it's new it hasn't been. Down one of these screw holes there should be a wee white security tab that Makita put on them. Neither of these have them security tabs. So that's red flag number 2. Red flag number 3. It's the actual weight of the batteries. You can tell by the weight of the batteries if they're genuine or not sometimes. Because this genuine 6-amp that I have, this is certainly a genuine 6-amp because I've had this open. This is a genuine one with Samsung 30Q cells in it, proper circuit board and everything, and that's quite heavy. But these two, the weight of these in comparison to this, these two would weigh about the same combined as this one would weigh on its own. So that's definitely red flag number 3 there. For the next red flag, we're probably going to have to open at least one of them to see. Like I say, we didn't have to dig out the wee white tab because it's just not there. Right, so here we go. Red flag number 4. You can see from the circuit board, because this circuit board is one of the basic ones. The proper 6-amp don't have these basic circuit boards on them, and it's got 2 wires going to the battery indicator. And it has wires. This wire's off. I would say that's what's wrong with the battery. That's why it's probably not functioning properly. It's just not wired at the top the way a proper Makita battery would be. That's just not. And there's no protection around the cells at all. They're just exposed. That wouldn't happen in a Makita battery as well. To give you some context what the board should look like, they should look more like this here. This is what you should have, or this here. That's the type of boards. These aren't even genuine boards, but they're much higher quality than the junk that's in this. And red flag number 5, the spot welding is so basic. I do better in my little makeshift workshop here. That is so bad. You're hardly spotted at all. Look at that. And the nickel's very thin. So I think we have red flag 4 and 5 within the pack. Red flag number 6 as well is also within the pack. These cells. I'm going to show you some cells. I want you to note these cells here have absolutely no markings on them whatsoever. And if that was a genuine 6 amp Makita battery, they would be Samsung 30Qs. Samsung 18650 30Qs. Pink cells, very distinctive. Like every battery company, even some of the real bad ones. This is not a bad cell. This is a Sanyo VTC4, and this is an LG ICR 18650 HD 2C. These have all got markings on them. Somebody's actually laying claim to manufacturing these. Nobody has admitted to these. These are unclaimed as a manufacturer, but I've got an idea who made these, and it's somebody, my good friend over in Canada, PC Fixer, who he's got a theory about these type of cells. They're made by Mr. Wong, and he's got a basement battery company. And that's him, Mr. Wong's basement battery company. That's where they come out of. So that battery could not be worse. It's no wonder it failed, and I will not be fixing them because they are pure and utter trash and they're not worth anybody's time. But I wanted to show you guys what the red flags were if you do buy these batteries. If you're unlucky enough to pick up a couple of these online at a ridiculously cheap price, they're cheap for a reason, and try and get your money back because it's just not on. Buy a proper Makita, spend the money. These are worth nothing. These are too expensive at any price. Makita LXT battery. This is in fact unfortunately a knockoff. It claims to be a 6 ampere 108 watt hour battery. That is fiction. So to prove this, we're going to put it in this load tester, and the numbers we're looking for is, see it says capacity, that should be about 6,000 milliamps, and energy it should say in around 108 watt hours. Bear in mind this battery hasn't done any work at all, and it's a complete knockoff. So I'm going to connect it up to load tester and we'll see what we can find out. This would normally take about an hour, but because this is a complete knockoff, it's probably going to be a short time. There we go. So you see those numbers coming up. It's what this does is this puts the battery under load, and it sends the complete voltage of the battery down to 12.5 over time, and it can measure the capacity it took to do that. So really what we're looking for is 6,000 there, where we're showing 40 at the minute. In watt hours, we've got 1 watt hour where we should have 108, but we'll not know for a wee while. It depends what capacity this battery really is, because I suspect it's not a 6 amp. This only took a few minutes, and I'm going to get down here to show you what's happened. 8 minutes 34 seconds it survived in the load tester. It's not 124 watt hours, it's 12.4 watt hours, and it's 710 milliamps. That's less than 1 ampere. So effectively this Dewalt battery here, 1.5 ampere, is better than that alleged 6 ampere. So yeah guys, just don't buy the knockoff batteries. Today we've got 8 faulty Makita batteries. I've already taken a voltage check coming out the top of the batteries. This is what I got for each battery. What I'm going to do today is pick a few of them to try and repair, because judging by the voltages, there's 12.92, 13.2 and 15 there, the highest values there. The rest of them seem exceedingly low. There's no way of telling fully to get them open, well, if they'll be able to be fixed or not, but these are the ones I'm selecting out of the 8. Let's see, that's 2, 5 and 8. So we'll put the rest away and try and deal with these 3. So selecting the highest voltage first, we'll put these to the side. We're going to go for number 2, it's 15.13. So the first step, we've already checked the voltage, 15.13 coming out the top. The next step is to get this thing open. And there's 4 T10 Torx screws down the centre. But with these batteries, I think this battery's actually a faulty, or it's actually a knockoff, or it's been opened before, because it's been opened before, because there's usually a little cap down one of the screw holes to stop me getting access to it, stop guys like me getting in there. And let's see. I don't like any ooze inside a battery, it's always a bad sign, but there's ooze in here. That's not good. We don't want anything, any sort of liquid of any sort. When we open a battery, we like nice, dry. As little rust as possible, but you know, rust's better than damp. Sticky as hell. Don't like that. But anyway, what I like and what I get sometimes is 2 different things. So since we have this battery open now, what we're going to do is going to check the voltage into the individual banks of cells. What I mean by a bank of cells is 2 cells in these 10 cell packs that are connected together in parallel, and then connected to the other pairs in series. So when you're checking one, for example, you're checking like that one there, you get 3.27. That's for the 2 cells together. And you reverse the probes, and you get 207 there. And we get 3.26 there. And we've got 3.26. And we've got 3.26. So if we go back to this one, what we have is we have cell imbalance. We have a bank of cells that's reading too low. That's 2.07 volts as opposed to 3.27, and the rest, that's quite easily repairable. To be quite honest with you, I just have to go to this bank of cells. Well, what do we mark on it with the marker? That's the one that's problematic. So what we're doing is we're going to take a wee charger I have called the Lipro B6 charger, and we're going to bring the voltage up to match the rest. Right, so here we are, we've got the balance charger, 1.9 amps, we'll put that up to maybe 2.6 or 5 or something. And we'll put that to 1S. And what I'm doing there is, the 1S is the 1 series, the 1 bank of cells and series, if you remember. That I'm only charging this one with the X on it. So what I'm doing is, I'm putting the negative on here. This is the negative side. I'm putting the positive on here. It's the positive side. Try not to cross connect any of the other banks of cells in the wrong place, because you get a spark. You don't really want that. But what I do now is I have that set properly, and I'm going to check it here, and we're getting a good enough connection. You can see it's bringing up the voltage, and we want to go to 3.27 or something. And why this wouldn't charge in the charger, the They have a cut-off point that the technology in the battery recognizes and transmits to the charger that this cell is too low, it's below chargeable voltage, don't charge it. And 2.5 and a Samsung 25R, for example, is considered the cut-off point, but it varies sometimes. We will try that one very, very soon here. We'll see. I might try her now. I'll stop her here now. I'll stop her here now and disconnect and take this away and see how close we are. Keep having a. We're there. 3.28. That's near enough perfect. That's near enough perfect. You can connect the probes in the B6 charger with magnets, but if you don't have magnets, you could do what I did, pry that up a wee bit, but you'll have to level it down or it won't go into the pack properly. So what we'll do is we'll put this together and see if the charger will recognize it then, because that might be a fix. We'll see. I'm not bothered putting the screws back into it, and just in case we have to do some more to it, but we'll try it in the charger here now to see if we get it recognised. Not showing a fault. Right, so next thing we'll go back to the B6 charger again. The voltage might be too low for the charger to recognise it, so we'll do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring up the voltage of the whole pack, and we have to get the orientation right. We'll go on the terminals we measured out first. This is the negative and this is the positive. Okay, and to charge that we need to change the settings on the little B6 charger to 5S, 5 series, 5 banks of 2, you know. So we'll hit her now to see if we can bring her up a bit. I'll bring this up to maybe just over 17 volts or something to see if it will take a charge then. That's probably going to take a wee bit of time. There, I'm going to take it up here now. It's 1777 volts, and it's been charging for over 3 minutes. This is the alternative, or one of the alternatives to the jump start, where you connect it to another battery to bring the voltage up. I no longer really do that because I find this is safer, doesn't overheat the cells, doesn't pop the cells if they're vulnerable. If you have cells that are half gone, they're more likely to heat up. So 17.92, we're going to stop her now, and we're going to do an overall voltage check with the multimeter just to see where we're at. Here we go. And yeah, plus and minus is here. We've got 17.45. That should be plenty good to charge. That's chargeable voltage, put it like that. We're going to try in the charger again, and if it doesn't charge, we have one last resort. No, she's not going to charge. And this is the reason I didn't put the screws back in. The one last resort we have to recover in this battery is replacing the PCB. There is guys online that have a computer program for resetting them. I don't have that, so what I do is I replace the board. Pure and simple. The boards I get are not the same, not fully the same. It's a more modern board, really. It fits well enough. In this case, everything's where it should be. It's got a battery indicator that is not, there's no slot for in this old battery, but you know, that's not a problem. It's just a matter of taking out the screws, desoldering the board and soldering this one back on. So it's pretty easy. Don't want to do that. What happened there is I just cross-connected one of the terminals with another one. It doesn't really matter if it damages board because it's coming off anyway. Now we're ready for the new board, but see, this terminal has broke off because we sparked it earlier on. That's the only casualty of that. So we need to make a little terminal to fit in there, to fit here. It's only going to take a little bit of nickel strip, so it's not the end of the world. Solder that on. There we are. And back to the board again. Going on the battery. This one's tricky. That's looking good. There we are. That's got a good hold on that. They've overdone the flux in this one, but be alright. And last but not least, the end terminal. Nope. I think we got away with it this time though. It's not burnt off. We sparked that. I can break the connection again, but it didn't do it this time. We got away with it. We were lucky. Anyway. Show 'em one bar. Not that anybody's going to see that, because this doesn't have a battery indicator slot, so no one will ever know. Put the lid on and give her a chance at charging now. I don't know if these are really old or what's going on with them, but they don't have the little security tab down the screw holes. They usually have to remove, so as well. That arm was a 4 that I just fixed. This one's a 3. You don't see them, they're limited use, I suppose. Oh, this is an old one. This is the simple one. This is either an old one or a knockoff. I think it's just an old one, you know. No, we get it out of the pack here. Could be an old one, just. Yeah. See, it's not as well made as the 4 amp, you see. There's no coverage in the bottom of the batteries. And you see, even though there's a little bit of rubber on there, the bottom of the cells are starting to get marked. That I never like to see that. So we'll just continue with the usual voltage check. We'll get these things off first, because I suppose they're supposed to be protect this, but I don't think they're protected by this bit of paper. Let's check the voltage of this, starting at the top here. 1.97, and I'm going to write that on the cells here to give us a point of reference. Yeah. Hold on, I'm the right way around, am it? No, I was the wrong way around there. 1.75. 1.75. Yeah, so right way around here. 2.11. 2.11. What do I see? Try and get the right way around, try and get a connection. And the connection here is difficult. 3.57. 3.57. We did the right way around. We better corrosion, it's hard to get a connection. 3.59, there we are. 3.59. So that's the voltages of the banks of cells. And to explain what all this means, they're so out of whack with each other. These two are pretty close, they would be okay. The rest of them are all exceedingly low, and I wouldn't be wild surprised, because this is only like a very, very basic board that's in this. I don't know if I have one of these wee small boards like that. It's a very basic board, and it doesn't show a whole lot of battery management across the pack. It's only connected to the positive and the negative terminals, and it's got the overheat shutdown. That's all it's got going for it. That's not very good. They only had them in the very old batteries and the knockoff ones, you know. It's a bad job, because you get nothing transmitted really to the tool or the charger to let you know what the condition of all the cells are. That's only getting you a reading of really across the pack what we have. So it's not a bit wonder this fell out of whack so badly. Hopefully when we put it back into whack, it goes. So we'll try that. We'll try bringing up. I suppose we'll try bringing up these three together to see how that goes. So here we are. It's very important to get the polarity right. This is the negative side here, negative, and that's the positive. We're putting that on there. This battery is ancient, and it's probably not even wise to recover it, but you know, conventional wisdom would say no, but I've never been accused of being conventional or wise, so I'll disregard all that. So what I'm going to do is put magnets on, and you need to be careful. I nearly cross connected these two. I didn't want to do that now, so I didn't do it, but I didn't want to do it either. It's something you want to avoid. And what we're going to do, I'll just make sure you can sort of see what I'm doing here. I'm going to connect the positive on here, and we're going to connect the negative on here. And what we're doing in this case is we're going to charge those 3 banks of cells, effectively the 3 series. We'll go down to 3S, and we'll maybe try and give her a wee bit more ampage, will we? No, we'll stick with 2.5, see how it goes. Stick with 2.5, see how it goes. We'll hit the button. Right, we've got up to 9.8, so really over the 3 we want 3.5, so we want 10.5 really over the 3 banks of cells, you know. It's coming, it's getting there. So again, we really want this charger to be putting in 11 volts to be near hand the thing, because they'll be putting in more voltage than these cells have to charge them. So that's when we'll switch her off. We'll switch her off at 11. She's been going for about 18 minutes now, so it is taking a considerable amount of time to do this. Yeah. Another exciting news, this is fully charged now. Just give me an alert. So if we can try and get a voltage off that without disturbing everything. And we've got a full maximum voltage of 20.2. So not only is it fully charged, it's fully balanced. And yep, I'm calling that one fixed at 4 amp. That's number 2. Right, so here we are, we'll come up to near enough 11 volts. So we'll just stop the B6 charger, move the magnets and all the rest, all the hazards away. Now it's time to check the voltage of the ones we just charged to see if we have a result. You can see the previous, yeah, it's a bit better. It's a bit lower. 3.38. Let's see. We're looking at 3.38. It's a little bit lower. 3.62 for that one. So that one's a little bit higher, but not significantly so. So I think what we'll do is we'll try and charge these 2 banks now. So we'll change that to 3.62. And we'll score that out. So we'll bring these up a little bit more. We'll put the magnets back on. Again, we're relocating the magnets. And it's plus and minus we're going to. So we're going here and actually here. Need to make sure no cross connection happens, because they're both on the same side this time. So with these connected on and not interfering with each other, for want of a better terminology. So we need to change the settings again. We need to go down to 2S, because we're only charging 2 banks of cells, 2 series. And we'll press the button. Again, we'll lever a wee while to see if she comes on up. Right, I'm going to try taking this off again here, stopping it and everything else, then checking the voltage. Okay, let's go. Get the voltage right here now. 3.63, and let's see, 3.63. We overshot somewhat with the 3 that we've recharged. You know, 3.63 there. These ones are a little bit low, but I don't think in an old battery like this, and the time that I'm going to spend bringing those other 2 cells up to the same, I just don't think it's worth it. You have to pick your battles in this game, you know. Some battles are worth fighting, some battles are just not. The next thing we need to try is putting this and putting it together, putting the charger, see if we have something that's functional at the very, very least. Next step is to tighten the charger. Here we go. No. Again, it needs a board. I'll need to replace the board and that, so that's a job for another day, because I haven't got the right board and my vast array of quality knockoff nonsense. Needs PCB, so that'll remind me. So that's 2 down. I could fix that if I had the right board, but yeah, you get the picture. So we'll have to order one for that. And we're going to go to number 3 now, which is number 8. And if you recall, what I say, I'll just not jump the gun. That's at 12.92 volts, and it's also a 3 ampere, so it might be the same problem. And like I say, you got to pick your battles in these sort of things. I could do a full marathon, but you know, well, this one hasn't been opened before. That's one good thing. This one has still got the wee white tab down the centre. I'm glad I got a chance to show you this, because this is in 99% of them, unless they've been tampered with before, they're knockoffs or something. They usually have. And even some of the knockoffs, I think, have that little tab. It doesn't really prove anything. What I used to remove this white tab is a screwdriver like this. Put a wee screw on, any kind of screw, a wee wood screw or anything. Get a pair of pliers, pull that out. That little tab is to like a security thing. That's Makita know if their battery's been opened before. So if you send that back to for warranty, no white tab, they know somebody's been in there. So anyway, same thing. Slightly different setup. That's a newer version of the same thing. There's balancers in that. It's actually something I probably could put the newer board on, the one with the indicator on it. So we'll see. We'll take it out, do the mandatory voltage check first, see where we're at. Again, no protection in the bottom of the battery, which I never like to see, and they're been marked them by themselves. You get that commonly with knockoffs. Again, these are, there's a bit of stuff on the side of this to protect me. I feel so protected. Again, insulation off, it's test time. 3.21, 3.25, 3.20, 3.23. It's this bank of cells here that's faulty, so that needs cell replacement. So I need 2 of 1500 milliamp cells, which I also don't have in stock at the minute. Yeah, I will have to come back to this one. So I'll put a wee mark on. I'll put it back together. I'll say it needs 2 cells, and that'll let me know when I've even marked it inside, so I know which ones they are. We'll have to have a little look around sometime to see if we can knock up a couple of 3 amp cells that are still in good enough resistance. If you want to take a look at my channel, you'll see I have actually replaced cells in these before. It can be done. It's not real rocket science, but you know, it's something I may have to come back to. So this needs cells, this needs a PCB. This got a PCB. This number 2 here. So 1 out of 3 ain't bad, but them 3 are fixable. Like I say, in this game you gotta pick your battles. There's probably 5 other batteries and some of them are recoverable, but you know, not for this morning. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and check out my channel for all my other videos.